Hey y'all, this week on As Goode as It Gets, well, we're relaunching the podcast.
All while having a whole lot of fun.
We're back! Hi, welcome back to As Goode as It Gets, the podcast.
I'm Cris.
And I'm Mikey.
And this is a weekly chat from our camper kitchen.
That's right. We are back. By the time y'all see this, we're back on the road.
Yes. And for real, a weekly chat, not months and months and months in between podcasts. So we have a plan in place, and we are back at it. So we are very excited to be here.
Now, I guess we should talk about why we all of a sudden stopped, because we had this podcast going, which was really good, but before we go into why, let's go into who, because some of y'all might be tuning into this and going, wait a minute,
who are you?
What are y'all doing now? Because we thought you was cooking, and then we saw some travel stuff, and what are you doing now?
Yes.
So who are we?
Well, first of all, for those of you who might be new around here, we have a little website called recipes@crock.com.
It's just a small site.
Yeah, and we produce all kinds of primarily slow cooker recipes for that. But we also have been doing Instant Pot, electric pressure cooker recipes, air fryer, and now more recently, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, we've actually been using the Ninja Foodie, which is kind of a multi-unit that we'll talk about. So we have that, and then we launched a YouTube channel.
Yes.
As Good as It Gets, playing off of our last name.
Yeah, and that's where we show you a lot of the recipes that are popular on the site. Me and Cris, sometimes me and Miss Ad, sometimes me and Aunt Lou.
Right.
Or any combination of the above. We'll kind of show you how easy it is to put the recipes together. On the channel, we've also got some music, some like family challenges and stuff like that. But mainly, it's about the food.
And about a year ago, we decided to take our family on the road and show you how we still slow cook and pressure cook and do all those things while we travel the United States and see all the wonderful, beautiful, natural things to see out there.
Or as we call it, crocking the nation.
Exactly. So we are getting ready. We did that for about 6 months last year, and we're getting ready to head out and do that again.
And I don't know about you, but I think I do know about you. We've been talking about this for the past couple weeks. We're leaving in 2 days to start this journey, and the past month has been really stressful, kind of getting stuff together and getting everything ready and prepared so that we could go. And we're excited. I'm going to speak for you on this. We're both excited.
Yes, just a little bit. So we are super excited about that, and we're going to talk a little bit about all the fun content that is coming to the channel now that we kind of have our feet back out, back under us. But we had a bit, so those of you that are new might wonder, we kind of just had a sudden stop in the middle. Podcast listeners may really be wondering, because we kind of just suddenly stopped, and then some of the YouTube family knows what's going on. Yeah. So go ahead and share a little bit.
We were out kind of chasing the road. We went to Texas and New Mexico and Arizona and California. We got to see Big Bend. We got to see White Sands National Park. We got to see the Pacific Ocean. And then the last place that we actually got to visit was the Grand Canyon, which, by the way, if you've never went, go. There's no picture, no video, no nothing that will do justice to what you'll actually see when you're there. But while we were there, we were actually getting ready to turn back and start to make our way back home. But we were going to take about 3, maybe 4 weeks to do that. And on the way back one day from the Grand Canyon, we were headed back to the campsite to get ready to hitch up the next day and go on to the next location. And I got a call from back home that my father had passed away. And for all y'all who've gone through that, you know what it's like. And the world kind of just stops. And so we hitched up the trailer right then. We got back to the campsite, hooked up that night, and drove home. And the past 5.5 months that it's been, almost 6 months now, it's been it'll be 6 months here in a couple days since Dad passed away. It's kind of been a blur. Everything stops. Production stops. You don't want to be creative. You don't want to be funny. You just kind of want to grieve. I mean, that's what you do. That's life. That's what happens. And so we stopped a lot of the stuff we were doing. Of course, we quit traveling. You know, I came home and, you know, wanted to do the best I could to spend time with my mom and take care of her. And then, you know, we stopped the podcast because there was so much going on that there was like, you know, there was just too many balls up in the air. And when we do a podcast or a cooking video or music or whatever, we want to do it.
We want to be fully present.
Yeah. And I just, me personally, I couldn't do it. You know, there was too much going on. So we stopped doing the podcast. We still did the cooking videos, and
we took a little break, but then we it was something easy that we could do because it's something we were doing anyways
and
for the website.
Eat, so why not film it, right?
We were already doing all that stuff for the website anyway, so it kind of was a natural fit.
Yeah.
But you took on a while I was working behind the scenes with Aunt Lou to really take care of the website. You were still taking care of the YouTube channel, and then you took on a very large project.
A couple of them, actually.
Yes.
One of the projects was we have this back deck on our house, and it's kind of the reason we bought the house is because it was a beautiful view. But the deck was getting old, and there was some stuff that needed to be replaced. And well, frankly, I needed a project. I needed to do something with my hands to take my mind off my mind. And so it started off with I was going to replace 2 deck boards.
I was just going to say.
I won't go into the
I was
long
just going
story
to
of it.
say. He says he wanted a project, so I gave him a project.
I was going to replace 2 deck boards, and then I said, well, if I'm going to replace 2, I might as well replace them all. And then she's like, well, if you're going to do all that, why don't you make it a little bigger, and we could have a really nice place to, you know, hang out on the back, you know, on the back side of the house away from the road and everything. And so I designed it a little bigger, and then she looked at it and went, bigger. And so I designed it a little bigger, and she went, longer. And I went from a normal, I think it was like it was 40 foot long, two different sections, a lower 20-foot section and an upper 20-foot section that was like 10 foot wide. And I doubled that, and it became 20 by 20 and 20 by 20. So 2 great big decks. And then when she said longer, I designed an end platform on it that we call the plank because it's long and it's like 15 feet wide, but it's 40 feet long. So all together over the summer, I built an 80-foot long deck. It's about 20 foot wide altogether.
We should call it the Ark.
I call it in loving memory of The Office. I call it the mega deck. But everybody that I've showed pictures to, they've laughed and said that I've made an Ark. And we don't live too far away from a major airport. And so I make sure I don't light it up too much because I don't want Southwest landing in my backyard.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a good, productive summer on that side of it. It's a nice deck.
Yeah.
The boss approves of it, so that's what matters.
We love it. It's a wonderful retreat for when we're home. But you also had another really big project that we're excited about.
So talking about my boss, we've been, you know, him-hawing about music, and all y'all who've really stuck with us, you know, like over on Facebook, we'll do a live every once in a while. It's been a long time since we've done one of those, but I'm hoping maybe we kind of get back into that as we're on the road. But I was doing a lot of music, going to open mics and playing those, or doing a live on Facebook and previously on YouTube, and just kind of being able to connect with our audience with more than just seeing something that's been pre-taped. And I had written a few songs over the years, and they kind of got really popular with the crowd that was listening to them. And we got a lot of nudges from our Crock Posse saying, hey, why don't you ever record an album? I would buy an album if you recorded an album. And Cris and I were talking about it earlier in the summer. And she's like, there is no maybe recording an album. You need to go record one. And one of my very, very, very best friends is probably one of the best sound tech, engineer, producer kind of guys. His name's Jeremy Woods, and he's amazing. And I was going over to his house a lot over the course of the spring and summer. He was kind of one of my go-tos when it came to, you know, dealing with the grieving process. And I'd go over to his house and drink a beer and play lots and lots of music. And we'd sit there and jam all night. And then we hooked up the microphones and recorded a little bit and had fun with it. And then we decided, maybe we just go ahead and push for an album. And so we came up with a 4-song album titled Junkyard Dog. For all y'all who've been kind of following and listening to the stuff I've been playing, that's the title track of the song, or of the album. And it's a 4-song album that right now is in the mastering phase. And if you know anything about music production, that means it's almost done. And listening to it all summer, and I've been sending it to a handful of people, a select group of people that I just wanted to get some feedback on, and the feedback has been extremely positive, and we're excited. Cris has got the outside cover artwork done for like the physical actual CD, which we'll be creating a few of those, I think, and over the next month I think we're going to put a small order in, and I'll be using that to promote it as I go out, because as we go on the road, y'all know that one of the things I like to do is find a local open mic. And I also talked with a buddy of mine in Texas who I met last year on our travels, and he's like, let me know when you come to Texas, and we'll plan on booking you for a week.
Y'all know he's gonna want to go back to Texas. He always wants to go back to Texas.
Shout out down in the comments on the channel down below, or if you can put comments through the podcast. Anybody from Texas? Tell me a good place to go play an open mic. I'd like to know. I know San Antonio, and Austin area, I know that's pretty hot, but we're going to be doing a lot of traveling, and especially a lot of traveling through Texas over the next few months. So, give me a heads up. Let me know where y'all are at and if there's a place to play. And I'd love to play for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we're at now. We've got the album is almost done. The deck is done as I can get it for this year.
Yeah.
She's sturdy. We got a place to party on, and we got some music to listen to.
So we'll let you guys know the details of the album when it's actually ready.
By the way, before we go on, if you hear sirens, we're actually recording this in our RV, in our driveway, and an ambulance just went by, so it's not for us. We're all good here. Okay.
But aside from the album, which we definitely will let you guys know as soon as it hits, we are just all excited about all the new content that is coming both to the podcast, the YouTube channel, and the website. So first of all, we are headed back out on the road. By the time this is live, we are back on the road, and we are so excited about that. Honestly, the destination isn't really known at this point. We have a couple different options. We're just kind of tracking the weather to kind of see where we're going to go.
We want to stay semi-warm, if not completely warm.
But we've done a lot of pre-recording of the food content that we put up on the YouTube channel twice a week. So don't worry about that. You're going to see lots of that, and you're going to maybe be a little confused. I would say this weekly chat probably will keep you the least confused. Because we'll be talking more in real time than what you'll see on the channel. So on the channel 2 days a week, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we typically try to put out a new food video, and we've got all kinds of yummy things. We've got great holiday dishes coming up. We also have several different low carb options for those of you. I know we've got several viewers and listeners and readers that are eating low carb, and I will just tell you, usually your rule of thumb is if Cris is in the video, the food video, it's usually low carb. Now that's not always going to be true, because we've got readers who have all kinds of different tastes and needs for recipes. So, but for the most part, I really try to represent my low carb people. So we've got that.
And when you see Miss Ad or Aunt Lou in a video, I'll have a smile on my face because I know it's going to have some carbs
usually, yeah, we typically split those up that way.
Yeah.
But you're going to see some of the pre-taped things that we taped before we left for the food video, and then eventually you'll start seeing food videos that we've taped on the road.
Either way, you're going to get a whole lot of food and a whole lot of Goode.
And a whole lot of fun. Ha ha. But aside from that, this year we're going to do the travel content just a little bit different. One, we're going to keep the food and the travel, while you might see tastes of both of them within the other, but distinctly we're going to keep them separate. So For example, when we went to White Sands, we did a recipe and then we did the White Sands in the middle and finished the recipe. And now
we're gonna, because a lot of those videos, when you put, actually you're putting 2 videos together, they were extremely long form, and where you know, and just looking at like YouTube analytics and things like that, and audience retention, which is what I'm looking for, it seemed like the shorter videos really caught everybody, because, you know, sometimes you look on YouTube and go, gosh, that's a long video, you know, I might have to split that up or not get to it. And a lot of people, again, our audience, some are just here for the food, some are coming for the travel, and some are coming for all of it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna split it up. It's gonna be recipe videos on Tuesday and Thursday. And this is tentative, by the way, so if it doesn't work out like this, sorry, we're trying.
Well, it's probably because the data issue of finding a place to upload videos.
But it'll be Tuesday and Thursday will be your recipe videos. Wednesday will be a travel vlog. And then we're going to try to make it to where Saturday is the day where you get the podcast like this. And then if something else comes up, we might throw in extra videos. For y'all on Patreon, if you are in our in our Secret Keepers Club or up, everything is pushed a day earlier, so you'll get your stuff on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And
you also will be getting weekly updates about real-time travel. Yeah. So that is for our Secret Keepers, because the channel is going to be a little delayed. But if you are just a YouTube viewer, a podcast listener, a newsletter getter, don't worry, you still get like all the content you're used to. Yeah. We're just kind of trying to do a little housekeeping here to kind of get everybody back on the same page. One of the other really cool things that we're going to try to start doing with the travel content is, one, when we put the travel and the food together, we were like always pressed on time to not like keep everything kind of short and sweet, from a standpoint of sometimes we couldn't show you everything we wanted to show you from the travel stuff. So at locations, we had to cut some things out. And so we really want, when we go to a location, if you are enjoying traveling along with us, and we know lots of you really love to do that, we want you to get kind of a full experience of that location, and we don't want to be rushing through it because we're putting it with the food content. Yeah. So we're going to keep those 2 things separate. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't see us eating at some point. I mean, I'm sure, you know, we'll talk about that.
I like to eat.
Yeah. But then also, one of the other things that we get lots of questions from you guys about tips and tricks, and even some of the accessories and those kinds of things that we keep in the RV. And so we're going to start trying to be a little bit more informative when it comes to family travel tips. Yeah. Both for people who like to RV, and then also people who are just in general traveling with their families. Because we know that we have a lot of you that are either out there traveling or just like enjoying traveling along with us. So,
and these tips that we're going to give you is because we're learning as we go.
Oh, yeah. It all comes from experience. So like when I tell you that we need a plastic thing in our refrigerator to keep things from falling out, that's because things have fallen out.
We learned how to make scrambled eggs without having to touch them. You just drive down the road real fast.
So anyhow, and then aside from that, then we're relaunching this podcast, and what we're going to do with the podcast is we are going to try and bring back the weekly chat that we used to just do on YouTube, but we're going to offer it up in the podcast format too. So everyone can have it however they want. So we're just going to be giving you updates like we used to in the weekly chat. We might share stories from our travels. And then we're also going to start doing reader questions again, or reader emails. I always call it reader questions. It's reader emails. So you guys are always emailing me. So I'm going to pick a handful each week for us to kind of review and talk through with you guys. So we can make sure and do that. And if you ever have a question that you would like to be on the weekly chat.
Here comes another siren, by the way.
I'm sorry. My goodness.
It's a cop that time.
I'm not sure what's going on down there.
We live in a very safe part of Indiana, I promise.
No, really. That's why we're leaving. No.
That too.
No. So what we're going to do is you can email us. There's a form on the website that you can actually fill out. And I'll put that form, also a link to that form, in the newsletter. If you don't know, how to sign up for the newsletter, you can see a real easy way to do it if you log on to our website, recipes.crock.com, or we'll put it in the show notes. And then also, if this for those of you watching on YouTube, it'll be down below, so you can sign up for that kind of stuff. And then that makes it really super easy for you to kind of stay informed. And also email us. If none of that works and you still have a question that you would like to send us, we would love to hear it. You can send it to Cris at recipes.crock.com, and that is Cris, not with an H. There's no H in there.
That'd be Cris.
Yeah, no, most people spell Cris with an H.
Oh,
but my mom doesn't. So anyhow,
or if you want something to deal, if you want to ask any questions about the music or anything like that, or any of the content, you can email me at Mikey. That's without a C. That'd be Mickey. It's Mikey at recipes.crock.com.
Yes. My grandmother used to always write your name Mickey.
Our pastor, who I'd known for the longest time, I played a Christmas party there when I was like a band leader for some music, and at the end of it he called me Mickey. Yeah. And everybody thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. But we also have another exciting thing going on around here.
We got a new toy.
Yes, we do. I keep saying we have a new team member at recipes.crock.com. The Ninja Foodie is something we purchased a few months ago and actually got to unbox it a few weeks ago because you were driving me crazy not letting me open the box. And so we finally did the unboxing. You guys saw that. We have a review of it coming up. I definitely have been running it through its paces. I am so far, spoiler, I am totally in love with the thing.
Yes.
For those of you who do not know, Ninja Foodie is electric pressure.
It's a kitchen.
It's an electric pressure cooker that has a pressure cooker lid, but it also, you can remove the pressure cooker lid and put down on it an air fryer lid, and it can air fry, it can pressure cook, you can pressure cook then air fry.
You can broil it. You can bake in it. You can boil in it.
Bubba.
Sounds like Bubba.
Yes,
it's truly an all-in-one, like everything. Now, here's something that I have learned, because you ordered that Ninja Foodie straight from the Ninja website. It wasn't even out on Amazon yet. Walmart didn't have it yet. All the think of the locations where you can buy stuff like that. And somebody had sent a comment and said, it's actually cheaper at Walmart. It was like $50 cheaper. There was a reason.
Yes.
And that's because there are different models of that Ninja Foodie. Some of them have more features than others. Like one of the features on ours is it's got a dehydrator function.
Right,
so
which we haven't tested yet.
If we ever want to make dried fruit or jerky, we have that option. But there are, like the ones in Walmart that are running I think $179 or something.
Yeah.
Don't have some of the features of it.
Well, but I think they have the core features that most people
have
would
the
be
slow
using.
cook and the pressure cook, but some of the other bells and whistles that...
You just got to check. Our model is model 302 for anyone who is very interested in specifically.
I am impressed that you knew that.
I saw that today on the manual. Because I was like, oh, that's what it is. So the Foodie is coming. We have a review coming up for you guys. We're going to try and start doing that more often. For those of you who are on Instagram, make sure you're following Recipes That Crock on Instagram, because we are doing short Instagram stories regularly about any time that I'm testing the Foodie, because I'm showing you guys real time what's happening, what I like, if anything's went wrong. And people are really enjoying those. I'm hearing from a lot of followers over on Instagram that they are really enjoying that series. So if you're kind of on the fence about that, or you're like, what on earth is she even talking about? If you're on Instagram, follow us and watch those stories, and you'll kind of catch on to what's going on. That's also where you're going to see a lot more of our real-time travel content. Travel content will go up on Instagram typically closer to real time than it will on the YouTube channel, just because it's a quicker format to get things up. But with all of that, now it's time for some reader emails.
I have one.
Okay.
This one comes from Judy.
Yes.
Judy.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Judy.
You remember the Andy Griffith Show? Anybody? Yeah, somebody's going to know where that comes from. Goober, come on. It's you. Anyway, Judy asks, she says, I'm having a hard time finding recipes for the oblong casserole crock pot. I know that you had some on your website, but do you have any current ones? I haven't seen any on your site for a while. Judy.
Well, Judy, we do. We cook out of our casserole crock all the time. It's actually packed in the camper. Aunt Lou has a casserole crock too. And so there is a specific category on the website that is actually labeled that says uses casserole crock. And so that's what we click anytime we've tested a specific recipe in the casserole crock. This is a question I get often from people because I think because it's a different shape, people are like, oh, this must cook, you know, I have to have specific recipes. For the most part, most recipes that work in any typical traditional slow cooker will work in the casserole crock. Sometimes they work better than others. So any kind of recipe, I always say, that needs to rise up. So if you're making a cake or like some kind of something that needs to set in the center, so not just a typical casserole that you're just kind of blending the flavors and that kind of thing, but anything that needs to set up. Sometimes the casserole crock has a harder time getting that center done because you don't have the sides of your traditional crock pot for it to pull up and raise up. So when it's pulled out like this, it's trying to raise and the center doesn't always get done. One of the things you can do if you try something and it's not going so well is you can definitely rotate that slow cooker in the casserole crock so that one side doesn't get done before the other. And then as a last step measure, if you think it's getting there but it's just not quite there in the center, you can pop that casserole crock in the oven to kind of finish up it, to salvage something if you've like tried something that you're like, oh no. But for the most part, the casserole crock is really, really great for potlucks and those kinds of casserole dishes where you kind of want to, you know, be able to divide out the portions and that kind of thing. I also love it for meat because like anything like chicken legs and pork chops and those kinds of things, because it lets you fully spread out that meat and then you can put whatever sauce or seasoning where it gets all over.
You're making me so hungry right now.
Yeah, all over all of the meat instead of like, because usually you're stacking things in a regular crock pot and sometimes some pieces get seasoned more than others. The casserole crock is really nice to kind of spread things out. So that is but we do have a category on the website and we can put that link down below to give you guys so you guys can totally like get straight to everything that we've tested. So there we go.
What you got?
I have a question from Gail.
Hi, Gail.
Gail says, I must have missed somehow the explanation to how Mikey got hurt this summer, the wrist and his backside. He mentioned it on the show today, so this is from a while back. Could you explain it again, what happened? And thanks so much for the good recipes, the laughter, and the feeling that we are family, though we have never met. Well, Gail, we love having you guys in the Crock Posse. Yeah.
And we do feel like Crock Posse is like family to us.
Oh, definitely. And we have so missed you guys this summer, like really connecting. So, your backside,
one
dear.
thing I didn't miss was the ground. Okay, Gail, and anybody else is wanting to know that's concerned about my booty. First off, I'm fine now.
Yes.
Everything has healed up. Wrist is good.
Totally.
I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to shake my butt. Just know it's feeling good. But what happened was I was finishing phase 2 of the deck. And on phase 2, I had one final deck board to put in place, but I had to go from the outside of the deck to put it on. And at the very top of that deck, it's about 12 foot in the air. So I climbed up on a ladder, and Miss Ad was safely on the built side of the deck. And I had just put all the railing up, and I told her, I said, Addie, I need you to hold this drill. And when I tell you to pull the trigger, you're just going to zip that screw down into this deck board, and it's going to put everything into place, and I can finish up. She says, okay, Daddy. So she's sitting there, and she's, got her tongue hanging out, and she's looking at that screw, and she's ready to pull that trigger. But the deck board that I was putting up, the reason I needed her help was the deck board was a little bowed. Anybody that's worked with like lumber like that knows what I'm talking about. It warps. And so I was pushing on that board, and I couldn't get enough leverage because I was standing on the side of a step ladder, and I couldn't lean in hard enough to bend that board into place. So I put one hand on the board, and I grabbed one of the freshly placed balusters that I just put in, and I pushed on the board real quick, and pulled against the baluster to push that board in, and I just got into place, and I said, now. And when I did, I pushed too hard. Actually, I pulled too hard, and I actually pulled the baluster out. And if you've ever seen like Wile E. Coyote when he's chasing the Roadrunner, you know how Wile E. Coyote sometimes runs off the side of a mountain or the Grand Canyon, and then he like kind of stops there, and he holds up a sign that says "Yipes." I had just about that same reaction, and made eye contact with my daughter on the whole fall down, but I went straight off of the ladder, flew backwards, and landed, well, I want to say flat on my back, but here's the great thing about my kid, and I'm going to take a minute here to brag about my daughter, is she's very obedient to her parents. And I had told her previously, I said, Addie, I need you to help me clean up some of the extra scrap boards and stuff and stack them up in piles and kind of get everything out of the way so we can clean everything up when we're done. And right where I had landed, there was a deck board that I had to pull up from the deck, and it was filled with 3-inch screws sticking out of it. And like 20 minutes before we were doing what we did, she had just moved that board out of the way, because had she not moved it, I would have been impaled. But the problem was, because this is in a yard and grass grows, and I wasn't going to move this stuff to mow it because I wasn't done building, she missed a piece of wood, and it was a 4x4 block. And I landed, when I fell, I landed my left butt cheek on that block. And then something I remembered from college is in judo, and they say if you ever fall on your back, you land with the judo slap, and that's where you throw your hands out as fast as you can and you smack the ground whenever you hit it, and somehow it's supposed to take the kinetic energy that is built up that you, when you hit the ground, and it shoots out your fingers or something. I don't know, that's what they say. Well, training kicked in, and I did that, and I judo slapped that same block, which is why I screwed up my wrist and had a big old bruise and a swollen booty on one side, which was weird when you sit down and you're kind of leaning because it was swollen. But that's how that happened. There were a few other things. I crushed my fingertip one day. We're
glad the deck building is done.
So I'm not dead.
But here's the deal. Everybody was super, super concerned. And we had already taped some things ahead. So by the time that all that footage had went live, we already knew Mike was okay. So we thank you all for all your concern. But you totally survived and survived your building project, and you have you've recovered, and you're ready to.
I'm ready to not do any more building projects for a while, because I'm in my 40s now, and one thing I've learned from being in your 20s to being in your 40s is you could be just as motivated to get a project done and maybe go even a little bigger. But man, that thing, it tears you up. Your dad is her dad is a contractor, and he's a carpenter by trade, and a good one at that. And he works hard every single day doing that.
My mom is too.
And your mama works right alongside him.
Yeah.
I don't know where we got that idea from, working alongside each other, but he does it every single day. And I mean, I could just imagine, just how much he's put his body through over the years.
Yeah.
So big props to your dad.
Yep.
That's why I like to cook for a living.
So we're going to get back at that.
Yeah.
So you got another question for me?
I do, and mine comes from a different Gail. Mm-hmm. And this Gail says, do you have a recipe for Crock-Pot ribeye steaks?
Actually, we do not have something specific to ribeye steaks, but what I will tell you, Gail, is you could use our Crock-Pot steak and gravy recipe, and it would come out amazing.
I bet it would, because ribeyes
it's got that nice marble
fat. It's going to look a lot like a chuck roast, only more tender.
Yeah.
Because a chuck roast, when you cook it, when you slow cook it, it's going to be tender, but it's still, the grain is different.
Yeah.
A ribeye, now, I'm gonna. I don't want to sound judgmental here, Gail, but why would you want a slow cook a ribeye? Don't you want to burn that on a grill?
You know what? If that's what she wants to do, I do think the steak with gravy recipe is definitely one that you would want to try. I would also say pretty much anything that calls for a chuck roast, you could probably use that ribeye with it, and it would probably turn out really good. You might catch ribeyes on sale, and you don't have. And you don't want to pay full price for like a pot roast, for example.
Smart. Okay.
So there might be a reason.
Smart thinking, lady.
There might be a reason. And so so what I would say is you could kind of look at anything. All I'm going to say is probably the cooking times might be a little less, depending on how many ribeyes you throw in there.
Yeah.
So you just kind of keep an eye on it, and if it's tough, it's not done. You keep cooking beef until it turns tender.
Low and slow.
Slow.
Now I just want to apologize to Gail because I kind of want to do that now. You mentioned that steak and gravy
now
recipe.
he's like, okay, well, we'll go get some
ribeyes. One, it's a popular recipe on the site, but two, it was a very favorite recipe that I enjoyed.
Oh, it's super popular. Everybody loves that recipe. It's an easy recipe to make, but you don't even have to. I forget. Did she use flat iron steaks in that? Because that's an Aunt Lou recipe.
It was
round steaks.
Yeah.
So you can use all kinds of different cuts. For that kind of thing.
But the ribeyes would be good.
Yeah. But again, if you guys have reader questions for us, we'd love to have them. Just go ahead and send them to us. And we will maybe answer them on the show. Also, if you are trying recipes from the website, we would love photographs of either you cooking or of of your dishes. A lot of times we share that on our Instagram stories too. And we'll share that here. We'll talk about it and share it in the show too. So if you ever have that kind of stuff, you can pop that an email to us, either one of us, and we'll get it. And then if you have a recipe that that you would like for us to try, you can also email us at ReaderRecipes@recipes.crock.com, and then that a lot of times we will test those recipes, and some of those make it on the channel, on the website, and then maybe even the podcast.
Down in the comments below, going back to the album, if y'all are interested in listening to the album, if you want a CD, well, put a comment down there, and that way I can kind of keep a running tally of, just how popular would a CD be. But if you are a listener on iTunes and Spotify and wherever you get your digital music from, that's where it will be soon. We will be announcing that and a couple other kind of exciting things on our Facebook page, which is as good as it gets, the Facebook group. Of course, we're going to keep you updated through the podcast as well, and we'll definitely let you know, because I am very, very, very proud of this summer project. As proud as I am of that deck, the album didn't try to kill me. So I'm excited about it. It's honestly, I mean, if it wasn't mine, I'd tell you it's really, really good. And in fact, if you stay listening through the rest of this podcast, at the very end, I'll give you a snippet of one of the last songs that we recorded.
Awesome. Well, but whatever you do, guys, we hope you
laugh often,
eat good food,
and speak life.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I've poured out my heart, and I've poured out my soul, and I've worked up a terrible thirst. Now my mouth is all dry, and my fingers are sore, and my throat, it hurts the worst. So I won't be too picky when it comes to booze. I'll take anything from the bar. I'll drink Old Milwaukee, or I'll drink Bud Light. Heck, I'll even drink PBR. Just buy me a drink, something cold and tall. Foreign or domestic, don't matter at all. I don't even care if it's fizzy or fruity or pink. Just buy me